Hey Wargamers, today we're doing another Patreon Army List review. That's right, back-to-back Patreon Army List reviews. If you're not familiar with this format, basically what I do is, for my supporters over on Patreon, they send me their Army lists. I critique those lists and revise them, trying to maintain the same concept of the list in terms of how it functions, but maybe making some tweaks here and there to basically make it a little bit more meta-centric or a little bit more functional, have a little bit more flow. However you want to think about that is what we do here. So today we are looking at a 3-detachment list, including a Tau detachment, a Borkan detachment, and a Akia detachment. If you want to see both the original list and the revised list, there is a link in the description below. You can also find it over on the Invasive Wargaming Facebook page. And as always, if you have additional insight as to things that I'm doing wrong or things that you would like to see changed in either list, go ahead and put those in the comments below. Alright, so let's get started here with the original list. We are in Battle Scribe here, and yeah, so the first detachment, like I said, is a battalion for Tau Sept. For HQ, it has 2 Fireblades. Fireblades are a great choice, especially for a list that is Riptide and infantry centric, like this one is. That's kind of the overall theme, is infantry and Riptides. So this works out well. This is a good marker light base and support for your strike teams. For troops in this detachment, we have 3 strike team units, each of them having 5 fire warriors with 2 shield drones. Now, the concept here is, I'm assuming that the shield drones are not actually there for the fire warriors. They are there for these guys down here. We have 2 Riptides. So these shield drones that are being taken as part of the strike teams are basically ways to sprinkle in shield drones around the board, as well as not using up your 3 data sheet limit for tactical drones. So we're able to get lots of shield drones in the army list doing this, and they can support our battle suits as much as possible that way. So there's that. And then for Riptides, we have 2 Riptides. They're identical. They each have smart missile systems, heavy burst cannon, and then advanced targeting system and velocity tracker. So the advanced targeting system is delicious on the smart missile system. It also is very good on the heavy burst cannon, and the velocity tracker is good too. We've talked about this in previous lists, that I'm starting to warm up to the velocity tracker on Riptides because it seems like it works fairly well in the meta in terms of there's just so many units with fly. So velocity tracker improves your ballistic skill against units with fly, and because there are so many of them, you're going to get that more often than you might think. So that's pretty good. The concern I have here with this detachment already, well, let's just wrap it up here. Okay, so the last bit of the Tau battalion is a unit of Pathfinders, and they have three ion rifles. So for Pathfinders here in Tau detachment, I would really, I would probably prefer to have rail rifles instead of ion rifles, because rail rifles are going to be able to leverage some of the Tau stratagems a little bit more. They're going to be able to use a focus fire to proc their mortal wounds a little bit more easily than they would otherwise. Ion rifles don't get that benefit, and so I would maybe consider doing this as rail rifles instead of ion rifles. But either way, 3 Pathfinders, probably not going to make a big difference either way. But yeah, so the whole detachment here, I think, has a nice theme to it. The main thing I'm concerned about already, though, knowing that the other detachment is Borkan, is that this is a very static list. Primarily, the concern arises from the Riptides. They don't have target lock, so they're not going to be able to move. I know they're not going to be able to move effectively, and I know the common rebuttal is, well, I'm just going to have my Riptides stand and shoot, and that's fine. But the list needs to have some component that is going to capture objectives, have board control. Just turtling up is an okay strategy in some missions, but overall, if we're looking at the diversity of missions that are available within the community right now, turtling is an insufficient strategy. And so having your Riptides stand and shoot is fine, but you need something that is going to go out and take care of business on the objective front. And right now, this is very much a stand and shoot list. So moving into Borkan, we have 2 commanders in Cold Star battlesuits. So this is an issue with the list construction right here. In terms of it's illegal. We cannot have 2 commanders in one detachment. So one of these commanders has to move into a different detachment. And yeah. So and there's a couple things we can do with that. Additionally, I guess let me say this about the Tau detachment. So we can move one of these commanders into the Tau detachment, and then we can give it something cool like vectored maneuvering thrusters as a signature system to have it be a little bit more mobile, and that will be great. But I think generally the idea with taking a Tau Sept detachment should be either you're taking it because of the characters, so either you want Shadow Sun, or you want Dark Strider, or you want Long Strike. You want some of those guys. If you want them, then take Tau Sept. If you also are, like I said, making a very gunline army that is being paired with something else, something that's going to be more mobile, or at least incorporating mobile components into your Tau detachment. So having things that are actually going to be running around, that's fine too. But either way, you have to either be taking the Tau detachment for the special characters, or you should be taking it for the gunlininess and pairing it with some component of mobility. So here we would be looking for leveraging the focus fire stratagem to maximum effect. So putting a lot of investment into the one detachment. But right now I feel like we're kind of riding the fence. We're kind of walking a line that it's not working for me in my head. Of course, it could totally work on the battlefield, and I'm just not seeing it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All right, so going back to that Borkan detachment here. So we have the 2 commanders. Like I said, one of them has to move into a different detachment. Troops, we have a unit of Kroot. The Kroot here aren't going to be pulling a whole lot of weight. I think if you're bringing Kroot, you should bring a few units of them as a screen. Having 1 unit of Kroot, they're not really going to do that much. They're not benefiting from your Sept Tenet or anything like that. So I would probably switch those out for another unit of Fire Warriors. Then we have another unit of Fire Warriors with Shield Drones, and another unit of Fire Warriors with Shield Drones. Again, these Shield Drones are here to support the Riptide equivalent in this detachment, which is the lovely Yvara. Always a good choice, I think. And so we'll start there with Yvara. It has advanced targeting system, which is good. A flechette pod, ion, discharge cannon, stock choices there. 2 shield drones, which, one shield drone, which is fine. It's a good way to have it start out with a companion. Basically give the Yvara a shield drone right off the bat, although it is an easy kill point, so you're losing that. You know, I can kind of go either way. There are some mission types, like those in the Renegade format, where you have to assassinate a unit that's declared before deployment. In that case, the shield drone actually helps preserve the kill point for the unit as a whole, because when you are declaring assassination targets, you have to kill everything that's in the unit before deployment. And in that case, it's Yvara and the shield drone. So there's some tactical benefit there. It's kind of sneaky, but there's some benefit there. Otherwise, I'm you can go either way on that shield drone there, because there are plenty of other drones hanging around at the beginning of the game. And then a target lock. Yeah, so this is how I would run the Yvara. Like I said, the shield drone is wishy-washy. You can go either way. Then we also have 2 units of shield drones. Great. So that's our 3 units of tactical drones. We can't have any more, and we're really putting a lot of them in the Borkan detachment to support the Yvara. All right. I think the concern with the Yuvara here, though, is despite having all these different drones that could potentially support it, keep in mind the drones that are with the Fire Warrior teams, they're going to be great for turn 1 when your Yuvara is right next to them. But if you go second or at turn 2 or anything else like that, the Yuvara is going to be probably far, far away from those Fire Warriors and their shield drones. So that's why these tactical drones are necessary, but it's only 8 shield drones, and you can burn through that pretty quickly. So the Yuvara is pretty weak right here in terms of just not being fully supported. It just doesn't have the mass behind it. A lone Yuvara can do a lot of damage, but it can also be overwhelmed very quickly. And so I like to have multiple things that are there kind of alongside it to offer some support. So that's something to consider when we're looking at the revision here. Now the final detachment is very elegant. It is a Akia Sept detachment. We have a Fireblade and then 3 marksmen. So this is your marker light support along with other counter Fireblades. You're going to have plenty of marker lights, plenty of characters with marker lights. So this list is very well situated on the marker light front, I think. So I'm not going to touch that. I think that's a great detachment and a great complement to the rest of the list. So like I said, overall it's a infantry and Riptide heavy list. There are some structural things that we have to do with moving the commander, and that's going to have some consequences for how we actually build the list. But overall, I think this list is very strong in terms of fire output. I think it's going to suffer on the objective front. So, this list is basically built to try to table an opponent and not necessarily capitalize on taking objectives. So those are the strengths and weaknesses of this list as I see it. I like everything that's in it. I'm just going to tweak some minor things to maybe make it a little bit more flexible. All right, so let's look at the revised list. Okay, so here is the revised list. Again, both lists are on the Invasive Wargaming Facebook page. So here I've actually changed that Tau Sept detachment into a Borkan Sept detachment. I think you can totally run it as a Tau Sept detachment, but if you were going to do that, I would give the Cold Star a vectored maneuvering thrusters because you're using that better. But if you were also to be using this as a Tau Sept detachment, I would maybe make some additional choices to add a little bit more mobility to the list. But yeah, so as it is though, I did switch it to a Borkan list or to a Borkan detachment because I think overall having 2 detachments that are of the same sept in this layout is going to be just overall a little bit more stable of a choice. It allows those shield drones that are part of the Fire Warrior teams to benefit not only your Riptides but also your Yuvara. So you have a lot of flexibility in where your Riptides and your Yuvaras can be because presumably you're going to have Fire Warriors in multiple different places around the board, and so you can go from one Fire Warrior team to the other Fire Warrior team and still be supported with the shield drones that are there. So this gives you a lot more security in terms of your shield drone network, and it also allows for the Fire Warriors in each detachment to benefit from the Fireblade in each detachment. As it was previously, the Fire Warriors in the Borkan detachment couldn't benefit from the Fireblade in the Tau Sept detachment, which is really too bad because one of the big strengths of Borkan Fire Warriors is that they have that 18-inch rapid fire range, and if you have a Fireblade, that's 3 shots at 18 inches instead of just 2. So it's a huge benefit to have Fireblade with Borkan Fire Warriors, and for that reason, I think it just works out more smoothly if both these detachments are Borkan. They can still play very similarly in terms of being a gun line when you want it to be, but they have the extra range when you need it, and it also helps some of your heavier weapons, namely your Riptides and your Yuvaras, function better. So, yeah. All right, so let's get into this detachment here. We have Fireblade. I made him the Warlord and gave him through Unity Devastation, and then he also has the Pure Tide Engram Neurochip. We also have the Cold Star here that moved up from the other detachment in order to make it legal. Then for troops, we have 3 units of Fire Warriors, each of them 5 men strong, with 2 shield drones. Again, this isn't a choice that I would normally make. I think this is a lot of shield drones spread out across a lot of different units. But if our goal here is to keep the Riptides and the Yvara alive as long as possible, which I think we need, considering they're our main source of heavy firepower here, this should do that, at least to some extent. The trick is, of course, making sure the shield drones are next to the Riptides when you need them to be. For elites, I did give these guys target locks instead of advanced targeting systems. The reason for that, again, is because we need some mobility in the list, and we want the Riptides to be able to move around. So for that reason, I gave them target locks. They maintain the velocity tracker. You can go with the advanced targeting system too, instead of the velocity tracker. And that's how I have previously run them, and they've worked very well for me. But I'm intrigued by this velocity tracker angle, and so I'm gonna bite on that and keep it in here. Moving on to fast attack, we have the Pathfinder team again. I maintain the ion rifles. It seemed like it was kind of a flavorful thing in the list, kind of something that was in there largely for fun, and so let's keep that in there because fun is good. And then I have 1 unit of tactical drones again, shield drones. Moving into the second Borkan detachment, we have that other Fireblade and the other Cold Star. So again, now both of these Fireblades are going to be able to benefit Fire Warriors in the other detachment. The commanders are going to be able to use their Master of War ability freely. So I think it's a smoother list for that reason alone, not to mention the other benefits. So then into troops, we have a unit of Fire Warriors, a unit of Fire Warriors, a unit of Fire Warriors, a unit of Fire Warriors. So we have lots more Fire Warriors, no shield drones in these ones, but basically doubling down on the Fire Warriors. Well, not doubling down. Let's see, we have 3, 4. So I'm 1.33 times down on what I was before. But more Fire Warriors here I think makes sense because, again, we have this really nice setup with all the Fire Blades, and with the Borkan trait, we're going to be offering 3 shots at 18 inches. It's just going to work out really well. Another option that you could do here with these Pathfinders that are up here, they could take a pulse accelerator drone and increase that range to 21 inches too. That would be an option. Alright, in a fast attack we have the 2 units of shield drones and then the Yvara, just as he was before. So I guess if I were to add that pulse accelerator drone, I'd probably drop the shield drone from the Yvara because we got lots of shield drones all over the place. Actually, not as much as we had before. So either way, you could drop a Fire Warrior somewhere instead. Consolidate one of the units to be larger. That would be an option as well. Drop one of the ion rifles. All those are options. There's lots of little tweaks you can do to make the accounting work on this sort of thing. But yeah, there's definitely a way to get a pulse accelerator drone in there if you wanted to. Moving into the final detachment, we have the Akia Detachment, and hey, look, it's exactly the same because I think that detachment works out really nicely. So yeah, that is the list. Overall, I think this gives a lot more flexibility in terms of who needs to be where and when, and it allows your Riptides to offer some critical support to the Yvara. Instead of just hanging out with your Fire Warriors, they can move up alongside a flank and give some pressure to either distract from the Yvara or reinforce the Yvara. And that type of maneuverability is going to be really important in terms of not only capturing objectives, but supporting the Yvara and helping it stay alive for longer, especially because we only have a few units of drones that can deep strike. So yeah, I think this list keeps a lot of the same elements in terms of being Riptide and infantry heavy, but just works out a little bit more smoothly. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like the original list better? Do you like this list better? What would you change in either of them? I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming.
Hey everyone, this video was made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you also enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there. Special thanks to Max Harrison, NoExcusesPanda, Paul Lueders, TauOswell, Nick Steele, Jared Egeler, Brian Mann, Jake Johnson, Eric Jackson, Cristofer Sarale, Youhei Penguin, Andy M. Young, Peter Benjamin Parker, and Giovanni DiMaggio.